Hello everybody, this is Purge, bringing you guys a Purge cast of pub. I know I haven't done one of these in a while, but I asked some people in my stream or my Dota 2 clan chat if they had a game, and this one was submitted to me and it looked pretty good. So it was submitted by Sess, S-E-S-S, and he had a dash at the end for some reason. He told me this was a 3.7k MMR game, and I believe this is ranked based on how slow the picking is going. So we can talk about a lot of good things. If you guys want a estimation of where 3.7k MMR is on the win ratio or the skill level in terms of percentage, I believe, at least based on the initial numbers that Valve released when Dota 2 matchmaking was first released, 3.7k was somewhere in the 95th percentile, I believe. Let me look it up, because I know there's a lot of people that have misunderstandings about this percentage. The fifth percentile starts at 1100 MMR. The 25th percentile starts at 2000 MMR. At the 50th percentile, we're at 2250. At the 75th percentile, we're at 2731. At the 90th percentile, we're at 3200. 95th percentile is 3900. So if he's 3700, he's somewhere around 93%, 93rd percentile. So this is the 93rd percentile or so of all the Dota players in the world. The 99th percentile starts at 4100 MMR. So that should give you guys a reference point. Even getting from 4100 MMR to 5k MMR is really difficult, in my opinion, for most players. Most players at the 4100 mark are, they maybe have the right general ideas, but they're not refined at all, is how I would customize it. So this should give us a good estimation of people that generally know how to play the game, but probably still make a lot of skill build mistakes and have a lot of farming inefficiencies and will make a ton of teamfight mistakes. That's what we're going to look to see, and hopefully we can make comments about that, and you guys can learn something out of the video if that's what you're looking to do. So, and hopefully I'll at least bring up some other interesting things that you guys might find cool. So, all right, so we're into the game. Let's go over the players quick. This is the guy that submitted, Sess, S-E-S-S. He played Troll Warlord this game. We have Sergeant Jansku, played Spirit Breaker. We've got Morn 14M playing Pugna, Dolly. Oh god, my mic's on. Oh, that scared the shit out of me. Oh man, when I used to record my pub games, hello. Is that gonna go away? Turn off, damn it. Options. Audio. Go away. Okay, there we go. When I used to do pub games in Dota 1 at least, I would do pub games all the time. I would have to record in Dota 1 because in Dota 1 there weren't replays basically, so I had to record live every single time. And sometimes, or even in Dota 2 sometimes, if I do a live one, I would start the recording. This one time I had my open mic on because I was casting, so I did a whole intro, like 20 seconds of intro, and everybody in my team heard it. I was so embarrassed. It was ridiculous, but that's why that scared the shit out of me. Anyways, wow, they're actually pretty organized here. So I don't know what their lanes are going to be. It looks like a support lane. I don't really recommend this because I think Lena's a lot safer as a hard carry or as a mid right now than she is as a support. She's not a bad support. She used to be support a lot, but I just don't think she's the best hero. This is going to be a Pugna core. You know, they have too many cores, actually. I assume Pugna's also a support. We did see a support Pugna from Cloud9 a couple days ago, and it was actually quite good. Good spin there from the Juggernaut. They can chase this, though. Comes a stun. Good stun from Nyx, and that should be a disengage. They might be able to still get him. They just got to land the stun here from Lena, and that should be a kill. Alright, that was well done. The Radiant team did a great job there. Good chase down. It's good to organize these kinds of little like fight under the rune things that some people do. At all MMR levels, it's great. Honestly, you just go somewhere. The most important part is that you hide. So you'll hide most of your heroes here, or if you're on the bot lane, hide them here. If you do that, you give your teams a good chance of grabbing a first blood at the rune, especially if you do it at a rune that people don't normally expect. So if you're a Dire team, go to this rune. If you're a Radiant team, go to this rune. It gets you to your lanes a bit later, but it guarantees your first blood and should give you a bit of a boost. And the hero they killed was Jug, and that also kills his last hits as well, because now he has to walk all the way back to base. What the hell is this set? It looks so cool. What the hell is this? It's like a freaking mecha samurai or something. I don't know what's up with that. It's actually a support Spirit Breaker, it looks like, which is pretty weird. Well, it's not terrible. It's an okay role to play the hero, just he does kind of need some levels and things. He is going to be able to trade hits with the Nyx Assassin, no problem, especially because Nyx doesn't have any Stout Shield, but Nyx does have really high base regen, so he'll be okay, I think. Did I go over all the players? I don't think I did. Sergeant Jansku, mid lane is GVS Heldrit on Puck. We got Dolly on the Lena, and Morin 14. We need to cover him. On the Dire team, QYI on Jakiro, Wern on the Weaver, Nice Roman playing Bloodseeker, and on the top lane H1N1 playing Juggernaut, and Dwaylen playing the Nyx Assassin. So this dual lane's not very good. Very important that you do get 2 melees, or you don't get 2 melees. And I'm actually quite surprised that even at this high of a level, and high is pretty safe to say because we're looking at the 99 or the 93% of all Dota players here. It's already a very high number, and we still have dual lanes going on. So it appears that you don't really get typical pro-ish lanes until somewhere above the 4K mark at least. We can make that assumption, I think, because again, this is a 3.7 game, which is pretty much at the peak of the I don't know if I should say it, the peak of the bad players. I don't know. It takes a while to get good at the game, obviously, and at this point they're getting to be, I would say, like, players start getting good somewhere around 4,500, I would say, something like that. So if once you get out of the 4K, or once you get out of like the what's the middle of the pack, 75%, 2,700, that's even really far away from where we are. But like a 30, that's irrelevant. I'm not going to go down this train of thought. It's not really needed. Anyways, let's look at CS and stuff like that. It's pretty even across the board, 10 to all the last hitters. At 2 minutes, that's okay, because that should, if that extrapolates out, they should have about 40 by the 10-minute mark, which is not bad at all. So that should give them some decent levels here. I would have liked to see Spirit Breaker maybe last hit this, because oh, that was actually a small creep, not a big one. I guess he's okay. He still did get the experience, but he's doing a pretty good job considering he's doing a dual offlane as a support. Romaine to do rune control is good. It was a bit late though. It's 3 minutes. He could have grabbed this much early, and he definitely did know about it because they had a ward on the high ground. So, but I really don't recommend the dual lanes. The reason dual lanes aren't as good as the tri-lane is because the tri-lanes you have 3 level heroes at level 1, and they only have 2 level heroes. If you kill them in the early levels, or you start pulling to deny their farm, you should have a level advantage over them, and that's when you should start killing them. If you allow them to get a couple levels, they should have a level advantage over you, and if their dual lane is a strong dual lane, then your team's going to be in a really bad spot, and they should be able to start killing and double killing and maybe even triple killing your tri-lane. So when you are against a dual lane, the most important thing to do is get a safe dual lane, and as you can see, the Juggernaut and Nyx Assassin dual lane is not very strong at all. They have virtually no chance of killing here, at least until Juggernaut gets boots, but due to the first blood nature that happened, the Radiant team still has a big advantage here. So, Bloodseeker on the mid lane. This is a hero that you guys might be having trouble with in your pub games. The solution, I think, is Shadow Fiend. When I went on my Shadow Fiend kick a couple of weeks ago, I played against a Bloodseeker one game, and the problem with Bloodseeker is that whenever he wants to regen health, he just casts Blood Rage on himself, and then he last hits. And he last hits very likely because he has a Stout Shield and usually a Quelling Blade. And with those 2 items, the amount of damage he takes from my harass is weakened, and the amount of his ability to last hit is very high. So he can grab last hits, which continue to keep his HP up, which basically guarantees that he gets farmed. So he kind of like counters what a lot of mid heroes do, which is a mix of last hitting and harassing your opponent. Bloodseeker is good against that. The change comes. Oh, that was not the glory phase shift. The change comes when you have enough spammable nukes that whenever he comes up to Blood Rage that you can actually get bonus damage. As you just saw right there, he used Blood Rage, he does 25% more damage, but he also takes 25% more. And the Puck orbed him, which did a pretty good nuke. The downside is that Puck only has 1 nuke, and a hero like Shadow Fiend has 3 at pretty much all levels past level 2. So the cool part about Shadow Fiend against Bloodseeker is if he comes up in a melee range, he's a melee hero, and then you can cast a spell on him and do a lot of damage. You could probably argue similar things for Storm as well. Storm is good against melee heroes as well, because if they do come in a melee range, they are going to pay for it by hitting a Remnant or a Raze or whatever. So I really like Shadow Fiend versus Bloodseeker. If you guys are having trouble with him in a 1v1 mid, I think Shadow Fiend's the solution. You need a way to have a spammable nuke that every time he comes up to get a last hit, you just hit him with a Raze, he takes like 250 damage, and then maybe right click him and raise him again. And he very quickly is going to run out of regen and lose his ability to win the 1v1, I think. At least that's my feelings on the matchup. So I think he actually should have ultied him here. It looks like he's still going to get this kill, but okay, he actually saved. Well, he should have just orbed because he had the mana, but he should have ultied him right here. Maybe a little bit low on, or slow on leveling up, but that was a decent kill by the Puck. I mean, the important thing to do is just to attack him a lot. Just keep attacking the hero. Every time he comes up, if you're not last hitting or denying him, then you should be attacking him. And that's something that I think a lot of players in the middle of the pack don't necessarily do, but this guy did well. He attacked the hero a lot and a lot and a lot. You shouldn't just rely on your spells to be able to get last hits or to harass somebody. You should be doing a mix of alright, this is the wrong way to run for the Nyx, but a decent spiked Carapace usage is going to guarantee his kill. So that'll be okay. Regen for the support. I do not like this at all, actually. I think in most cases, ferrying yourself out Well, I think the Clarity was okay, but in most cases, ferrying yourself out tangos later in the game is not really recommended. I think the issue we could look at here for Doylan is he probably thinks like, oh, I need regen, but the solution is that he should have gotten more farm out of the top lane. If he wants to get a regen item and he doesn't have money for it, what he should have been doing is pulling, because if he pulls, he should be able to get those last hits. So that's something efficiency-wise that's maybe subtle to this player. He might think like, oh, I need regen items, but the reality is that he should be getting gold that allows him to buy something that's more efficient, that isn't going to not pay off right away. He just spent 175 gold on 2 items, one of which was wasted immediately by a Dragon Slave. But what if he saved his money up a bit and got a bottle or something? That's 700 gold. That's obviously a lot. What if he saved up his money a bit and he got an urn that's, 875 gold? An urn would do way more, or even a piece of an urn. Just a Sage's Mask, 50% mana regen, doesn't do a lot when his int is low, but buying an urn as a support hero really does help out your mana regen. And the most important part is that by having those items, it means that you don't have to go back to base as often. And that's another thing you could have done. Oh, my mana's completely empty. Oh, my HP's completely empty. I go back to base and then I come back out, because that costs $0. Again, it is sometimes worth it to spend the money on regen items. But in the case of Doylan here, all he did was spend 175 and move across the map, and he hasn't accomplished anything. He put all this investment, all his first early gold, into items that don't matter. And that could have been Observer Wards purchased earlier. That could have been a Flying Courier. I think they don't even have yet. Oh yeah, just their Courier just died. He could have bought a Flying Courier. There's a lot of things that impact. And it's even as a support, it really impacts how well you can farm. Because his items, though he is a support here and technically has no items, will still heavily influence the game. Observer Wards could have been placed here. He could have put an Observer Ward here to spot roaming. Or he could have gotten a gank off using something like, I don't know. There's other ways. Oh, this guy's actually gonna die here. This Bloodseeker skill build isn't right either. I absolutely do not recommend maxing this skill first. The extra silence duration is cool, but you get a lot of value point out of the Blood Right with just one skill point. It does 120 pure damage at level 4, it does 240. So really by putting more skill points into it, it does decrease the cooldown, but the main thing you're boosting up is the silence duration. And remember, that's pure damage, so 240, well, a 225 pure damage nuke does 300, is equivalent to a 300 damage magic nuke, assuming somebody doesn't have magic resistance. So it's actually a pretty big nuke here, but it's slightly hard to land. I think the much better option is to go 1-1-4 build, where you're maxing out Thirst as fast as possible, or at least getting 2 levels of Thirst, because Thirst is the skill that you need to be able to snowball, basically. It allows you to chase people down, get kills, right-click, get lane advantage. Like, for example, if you're laning against a puck, and all of a sudden some heroes across the map are getting low HP, you can use this movement speed boost and this damage boost and this attack, or this movement speed boost, the damage buff to trade hits with them or chase them down under tower. You can do some really aggressive things with Bloodseeker if there are low heroes across the map. And he's completely focused himself on a ganking potential, and that's not quite the right way to play Bloodseeker. Bloodseeker needs a little bit more snowball than that, in my opinion. He needs Blood Rage right now, which he hasn't done yet. And this Juggernaut also needs to come over. And, okay, well, looks like Troll just does a lot of... he's changed targets. This is a huge mistake by the Troll. He could have committed and killed the Juggernaut there, but that was like 2 levels. Jug got level 6 out of that. So yeah, the Bloodseeker is not really playing ideal. And the other thing is you don't really want to cast Blood Rage until you're about to get a last hit if you are jungling. You want to cast it right before you get the last hit, or where you're expecting your overall life loss to not be too terrible. So you can actually jungle pretty decently. Oh, this is such a mistake. You got to max out Thirst right. Maybe I need to make a Bloodseeker video. I don't think I've played a BS video in a long time. On the offlane, we do have a Weaver, and that was with the Jakiro. It's an okay dual lane. I wouldn't really recommend it. Major mistake made here is the Jakiro spent his first 500 gold on a magic wand. I don't recommend this at all. There's rare cases where I'll do this, and the only times I really do it, but I always feel guilty about it, is when I'm losing the game really badly and I want just really cheap HP increase, and I'll buy a magic wand because I'm like, oh, it gives 3 strength. That'll keep me alive. It doesn't. I think in a case like that, a Ring of Protection is going to do a lot more than upgraded magic wand will. He's being pretty aggressive here. He's just trying to put down liquid fire into the tower, which is not a terrible idea. I think that was okay. It's like Puck is busy just owning. That was a DD. He's got a blink already. That's a really fast DD. I assume this is going to be a rupture, and of course there's no way that he'll die here. Okay. Alright. Yeah, support Jakiro should go Tranquil first, in my opinion. His HP is pretty high. As a hero, 2.3 strength gain per level, so you should compensate that by also getting high armor. And Tranquil Boots is the way to go for that. I used to go Arcane Boots a long time ago, but that was definitely not the right build. And I actually played Jakiro a lot before he got popular, but I couldn't quite figure out the right build. I was always going like arcane mech or something like that, and that's not the build to make him useful. You still have to rely on allies to set up your stuns and things, or do skill shots. The solution is Tranquil Boots into Eul Scepter every single time as a support. That's definitely the way to play, and you also max out Liquid Fire. I wasn't quite set on the build either. I was trying to do like max Dual Breath, max Ice Path with one Liquid Fire or something, but the max Liquid Fire build was the way to go. It's since been nerfed, so it's not as good anymore, but I think it's still the build to go. Go 1-1-4, and then you max out Dual Breath afterwards. So usually by level, and I almost never get my ulti at 6. If you get it at 6, you're assuming that you're going to be able to combo it with something like a Chronosphere or another long duration stun. So I almost never get Macro Pyre at level 6. I'm usually at 2-1-3 by level 6, and at level 7 I'm 2-1-4, I think is the right Jakiro build. So Tranquils into the Euls. The Euls gives you mana regen, it gives you more movement speed because your hero's a little slow. And most importantly, allows you to set up an ice path on any hero no matter how evasive they are. And that's the really important part. You need to be able to set up an ice path, because if you don't, then your stun is potentially wasted, and you're better off just picking a hero that has a reliable disable. So, pretty important. Good kill. Nyx Assassin picks one up here. Yeah, decent skill build from him. He's pretty poverty here. Definitely needs to get either a bottle or an arcane boost. I think either of those two items are a necessity on this hero. You absolutely need them, because your hero is all about roaming and team fighting and ganking. Another really important thing to think about that most players don't even let this cross into their mind, but you need to be aware of how visible you are on the map, especially when you're playing a ganking hero. So other examples of ganking heroes: Nyx Assassin, Riki, Bounty Hunter, those kind of heroes, they want to be ganking constantly. Even a Storm Spirit is kind of an example of this. Your ability to get a kill is really strong, and if you're playing against good players, obviously this doesn't matter at lower skill levels where people don't pay attention, but if you are playing against people that are decent, they should be watching the map to say, like, God, I don't know where Nyx Assassin is, maybe he's ganking me right now, and it might force you to play more safe. So when you're playing a support like this, and you have your items, so for example, as he finishes his bottle, or as he finishes his arcane boots, what he should do, that should be a dead Pugna, I think. Yeah, with the mana there, you definitely is. The Zonian Macro Pyre. Okay, that was a ridiculous mistake. What was that? Oh yeah. As a ganking hero, it's important that you don't stay on the map. If you do need to jungle, or if you do want to farm, jungling is usually a good way to do that. So try to get an item that helps you do that. For the example of Nyx Assassin, Poor Man's Shield is a great option. Same with Bounty Hunter, same with Riki Maru. Poor Man's Shield on all three of those heroes pretty much guarantees that they can jungle as long as they want to, as long as they're not doing Ancients. So Poor Man's Shield and a bottle on any of those three heroes. Obviously you don't want a bottle on Riki, but on the other two heroes, the bottle is a great item on them, and it should very easily help you transition into a good item. Thank God my exploit's not muted. I thought for some reason it might still be. So right now he's even contesting farm from a Weaver, and he does have his arcane boots. What this guy should be doing in terms of efficiency is he should be healing and he should be setting up kills. He does still have 15 seconds left on his ultimate, but instead of thinking about what he's going to do in the next 2 minutes, he's thinking about what am I doing right now. And he's like misaligning his farm prioritization, and that's a huge mistake, because he could be right now in position right here to go invis and then set up a kill right now in Lina. This Lina would be dead 100% if this guy would do what I just predicted. He could be in position to set up a gank somewhere. As soon as this comes off cooldown, he uses invis, he follows the Lina into the jungle, Lina dies right here, bam, that's a kill. And instead, all he did was fight farm with the Weaver. He still hasn't gone back to base. He assumes, oh, I've got mana, I've got arcane boots, I'll eventually get enough mana and it'll be fine. And instead what he does is he does a reactionary gank, which are less likely to work, and especially in the mid lane where people feel very safe, or feel very unsafe, so they're less likely to stay around longer. The safest places to gank, or the ideal places to gank if you're playing a ganking hero like Nyx Assassin, are definitely over in this area usually. Safe lane farmers or the jungle is where I would aim. Obviously taking the towers is really important, and what should be happening is Jakiro should be pressuring towers. And that obviously hasn't happened yet, but that's what they should be doing. What a dead hero. Oh, if they kill, okay, they actually do end up killing the Puck, that's pretty big. So things kind of work out for them, and Dwaylen here probably thinks that he did a decent job, but the reality is that, you know, the way that he chose to start the fight, or the way that he's choosing to contribute, actually wasn't that good. Oh, this guy actually got blown up there. I kind of liked his idea of going in, but he really needed to catch the Pugna and not get chain stunned. Ugh, this skill build is terrible. Don't do this. You need your abilities to be bigger, especially if you're going the Eul's build. There's like no point to not max out your skills. You max out your skills so they do more damage. I mean, you could argue that Light Strike Array is doesn't need to be maxed out immediately because the damage doesn't scale massive, but the stun duration is pretty big. And Dragon Slave at least should be maxed right away because it just does a big nuke. So no reason not to. So yeah, even as a support, as Nyx Assassin is playing this game, your efficiency is so important. A lot of people, when they play support, they look at the wrong things. They say, oh, I bought wards, I bought a courier, I poverty'd, I let other people farm. And they look at those like self-sacrificial things that they're doing and saying, I'm playing support correct. And it's hard to tell if your support's playing correct, and that's part of the problem. Because carries, it's obvious. You're like, oh, I got more farm. Oh, I killed all these people. I did these good things. And yeah, your carry is doing well then. But you have to remember that if there's other things the support could be doing, you can be setting up kills, you can be preparing your opponents for death, you could be saving your allies from ganks, and instead, he was sitting mid splitting farm with a Weaver. Would have been a lot. Ooh, this guy's staying away too. Does end up getting picked up. That was a pretty good kill. So yeah, there's just a lot that you can do as a support that is difficult to analyze as a weaker player, and because you're sacrificing, you assume you're doing things right, but in reality, there's a lot more offensive ganking things that you could be doing, and a lot of setting up that you could do. I don't even think I've seen that guy place a ward. I've watched this Nyx Assassin for the last 10 minutes, and he's just been trying to get out a Dagon, but in reality, he hasn't even been farming that rapidly. He's better off to be making kills for himself on the map, which allows him to pursue items, not necessarily sitting in lanes waiting around for something to fall into his lap. For a gank to fall into his lap, essentially, is what he's been waiting for. That's not the correct way to play. So any other support things? Jakiro hasn't really been playing his role right this game. What he should be doing is taking towers. So whenever I play Jakiro as a support, assuming our team is in a fairly even place, and it's actually not at all like this, the Radiant team has a huge advantage. But if the Radiant team has a lot of ganking heroes, then it's hard to do this, especially if they have a gold advantage. But if you're ahead in any way, it's good to go take a tower and make sure you're split pushing as much as possible. And the way to do this is make sure your team is pushing lanes. Whenever you go to a lane to farm, especially if you're a little bit behind against a Spirit Breaker, you don't want to stay there really long. What you want to do is you want to push the lanes. So if I was in the jungle farming on a carry, I would take this camp, and then I would go over here. I'd kill this creep wave really quick, maybe take another one. And if there was a team fight somewhere else in the map, I would pressure the tower, assuming I felt like me showing up wasn't going to do anything. So pushing is really important. All these waves have been pushed towards the Dire team, which makes it a lot harder for them to try to steal out a tower, basically. But if Jakiro's in the right position, if he was maybe farming the jungle, obviously you should be here in these fights, but oh my god, this game isn't even close to being done. And it really bothers me, because this guy's been playing like crap. I mean, maybe that's what he's thinking when he says all this, but he has died a lot. He has reported. But yeah, if Jakiro was maybe in the right position here, he could push this lane really rapidly and then start taking the tower. With Liquid Fire, the tower dies very rapidly. And this is the other reason that you need to max out Dual Breath right away after Liquid Fire, is because Ice Path doesn't do any more damage as it scales. It just gives more stun duration, and the cooldown is lower, which means its uptime is higher. It's a good uptime ability, especially because it's AoE, but you need Dual Breath to take out waves. And in the past, with one Liquid Fire and one level 4 Dual Breath, you kill an entire creep wave. That's something X Freedom showed us in Korea. That was really big. At the time, before that, people were playing Jakiro 1-4-4, similar to this skill build, but this isn't the right skill build, in my opinion, unless you're dealing with, unless there's somebody that's really hard to disable, basically. So, there's actually a game in the TI qualifiers where I played Jakiro, and we lost a game that we shouldn't have lost, and I went 4-1-4, because I wanted more damage output, and we had almost no stuns on our team, and that was a good example of a game where we needed more stun duration that I maybe should have, but I wasn't building Yules. Nobody was really building Yules at the time. It was more like mech Jakiros, so it wasn't necessarily as popular, but that's maybe a case where this build is okay. But if we look at the heroes on the Radiant team, he doesn't really need the bonus Ice Path duration. If anything, the Dual Breath is really good because it applies movement speed slow and damage and attack speed slow as well. Those are going to do a little bit more against carries like Spirit Breaker and Troll, in my opinion. Because if you can slow down melee carries, then they're much easier to kite and chase after, basically. So I recommend that for that reason. Plus the farming thing. So he's gonna throw it on Ice Paths and all that good stuff, but you know, it's not even hitting that often. He should be going for the Lina, I think. No, Pugna's probably the easiest. Wow, that guy was low. Really great spike. That was a really great spike carapace. Well played by the Doyle in there. That was great. He did that very well, actually. Went on the right targets. The Ice Path, unfortunately, but boy, did he get stun for a long time. He just wants to fight. Man, this guy is just dying so fast here. The problem is that he's casting Blood Rage on himself. He shouldn't do that because he actually takes way more damage than he's dealing at this point, especially against a troll. He can't beat him in a 1v1 fight. I would argue that a troll is actually a really good counter to Bloodseeker. So once you do the spin, Bloodseeker's secondary source of damage, which is mostly his right click, is pretty wasted. So Blade Mail will help though, that's for sure. Alright, so we covered support and efficiency, things that supports should be doing that they're generally not, and why they think they're supporting correctly when they're not. Again, it's about efficiency. You should be getting gold game. Even though you're not a carry, you should still be able to get farm and get as much stuff done on the map as a pro level support. That's what you should be replicating yourself about. Look for what the pros are doing. See how efficient they are, how much GPM they have at a certain time minute, how much last hits, how fast do the supports get the items. It's not necessarily because their team groups up and pushes, it's also because they're finding farm for themselves. If nothing's happening, they'll farm a jungle camp. If a push succeeds, they will quickly drop a ward and then they will go back to farming, for example. Or they'll quickly set up for another kill. They won't stand around mid or say like, oh, there's 3 heroes mid, let's TP mid and stand there for 50 seconds. Or even 25 seconds, or even 10 seconds. Maybe 5 seconds at the maximum before they make a decision. All those things are really important towards making you a good support player. It's mostly about being very efficient with your time and occasionally going for kills. I do a lot more, like since my MMR has gone up about 400, I spend way more time, I'm a lot more efficient with my ganks. I do get a lot more gank kills. I roam a lot more. That actually, you actually got a kill there. Oh, that was the Axis, okay. That's a kill completely worth it actually. I think it was great for the Nyx to do that. If we look at the gold change, despite him dying, he actually got 570 out of that. And that's because his team is way behind. The way the gold mechanics work now is that a team that's ahead, they will give more gold than the other team. It's not necessarily more gold than the previous patch, but in this case it might be because the net worth is pretty severe here. It was about 25%, which is where the gold will be more than the previous patch. So Nyx probably got a lot of gold for that, and because his team is losing, he gives far less gold than he was than he gains. So that was completely worth it. And he gets levels, and he decreases their farming speed and all that good stuff. So since the last 5 or 10 minutes, I think the Nyx Assassin has been doing pretty well. His item build is not correct. That you could maybe argue sometimes for a fast Dagon 5, but in almost all cases you need to get a fast Blink Dagger. Blink Dagger is by far the way to go when you play the hero. It's not even a question in most cases. You need to get Blink because you need to be able to initiate. Fast initiations are almost everything. Pretty big mistake here. And that should be oh, he actually doesn't blink in time. So if we look at the fight recap, Dire Team's going to get a lot of money here. They did lose some heroes, but a lot of gold was lost. A lot of gold. Damage done, almost none. Basically just Pugna, probably from his Nether Ward. It looks like they just kind of tried to run away and it didn't work out. So yeah, the problem with the Dagon 5 rush build on Nyx is that if your opponents are in any way competent, this doesn't work. Because they'll have sentries, they'll have dust, and you'll also miss a lot of opportunities. Like, did you see a stun there? There was a lot of opportunities for like a triple stun, but instead what happened was he ran in, he hit first, and then he aimed for the stun. At that point, the whole fight was going crazy. If he had a blink instead, he could have blinked and dropped a stun on 3 heroes, and very likely done way more impact than this, just the Dagon alone. And you know, 2 Dagon recipes, for example, is the same cost as a Blink Dagger. In fact, it's a little bit more. So for a difference of 200 magic damage, he'd be able to initiate or even escape from dangerous situations. Blink is just too good on Nyx Assassin not to pick up. I seem to remember Bone 7 does a bit of a weird Nyx Assassin build. I think he only skips Arcane Boots is the thing. So it's not that peculiar, but I do believe he does that. They did not realize that was an illusion. Oh, is he going to kill Troll again? I don't know if he can. He's getting lifesteal this time. He just never fails to use those axes. He's not doing a very good job of predicting his opponent. The Troll isn't, that is. That Yule's completely saved him. JK is still dead. So Dwellin's been doing a nice job, honestly. He's been doing a great job getting their team back in the game. Since I think his 20-minute mark is not good. This guy didn't play well at all as a support in the first 20 minutes, but the first 18 minutes. But after that, he's been doing well, I think. Pretty much playing his hero the way. He's creating space. He's getting things done on the map. He's not just passively farming. That's another thing that players at this skill level have a huge issue with. They don't know how to control the game. They don't know how to set things up. They don't know how to put themselves in a place where they can set things up. For example, if I was this Juggernaut, there's a couple places to farm. He could farm his jungle, he could farm mid lane, or he could farm their jungle. And look what he's doing. He's doing the safe thing. He's like, I'm going to farm my side of the map where I know my heroes are, stuff like that. But Jug as a hero is actually pretty good at getting solo kills against heroes that don't have blinks or Yules. I mean, a lot of these guys have Yules. Almost all of them have Yules, actually. And there's also a Spirit Breaker in the game, so maybe it's a bit dangerous, but... Oh, that was pretty cool. You know, if we look at the damage log, I wonder if... Oh, that actually pauses the game. Let's see. Weaver hits melee creep. Pugna hits melee creep. Where's... Oh, yeah, okay. Alright. Lena casts Laguna Blade on Bloodseeker. Okay. He only had 340 HP there, by the way. So, I'm pretty sure, because Bloodseeker... Oh, Bloodseeker is melee creep with Blade. Okay, that's not... Okay, here it is. Melee creep hits Bloodseeker for 12 damage. Bloodseeker goes to 707 HP. And then Lena casts the Laguna Blade on Bloodseeker. And the Laguna Blade does 708 damage, which is more HP than Bloodseeker has, I think. Because this is a difference of half a second. He may have regened a little bit. It's possible he got up an HP here. But regardless, it hits him. Bloodseeker first reflects the blade mail damage. Well, it's actually Luna hitting Bloodseeker. Bloodseeker reflects it. And look, because he had Blood Rage on, it also heals him for 232 health. He goes from 0 to 232 and stays alive instead of dying. That's one of the really strong things about the way that Blade Mail interacts with Bloodseeker. If he has Blade Mail on and he takes more damage than would have killed him, but he also kills them with that hit, then he will actually lifesteal and stay alive. Otherwise, he would have died from this 100%. Isn't that cool? So, one really good reason to get Blade Mail on Bloodseeker. If you're in a 1v1 fight and you turn Blade Mail on, as long as they die at the same time as you or earlier, then you're getting an advantage. If they have way more HP than you, then it's not going to work out. So that was pretty cool. I hope you guys learned something from that. Big advantage for Bloodseeker there. Okay. So what was I talking about? Carry efficiency. Rather than farming on the jungle or on the mid lane or the jungle or the ancient, what this guy should be doing, and this is somewhere you might notice this when I play cores, and I do this maybe too much, and sometimes I do it when I shouldn't, and I end up losing my team the game. But the places I like to farm is here and here on Dire. And if I'm on Radiant, I like to farm here and here. Because when the wave pushes out, you'll usually get a creep wave. You'll have a camp here, and you'll have a camp here. Maybe if I'm not the hard carry, maybe better if I'm the mid or the semi carry. But if you farm these two camps, and the wave is here, and then one of their squishy supports comes to farm here. He's like, oh, hey, this is really close to my tower. This is pretty safe. And then he comes up to farm here, and then you just rotate out of the jungle, and you blow him up, and you get kills as a core onto a support or something like that. If the Juggernaut was farming down here, or if the Juggernaut was farming down here, and any support came down here, just Omni Slashes him. That's a dead hero. You can also position yourself for Roshan, and if you're a Juggernaut, you're fairly survivable. If he gets Yules, he can just Blade Fury and TP afterwards. So as long as you move down to the jungle with a TP, it allows him to not only have the opportunity to get kills, but the more important part is it protects his jungle for the heroes that are maybe less fortunate than him. A support like Jakiro wouldn't feel very comfortable going down here to farm. Because if he does get spotted, he's most likely going to die. Because if he gets Yules, he's most likely going to get stunned if he doesn't Yules himself fast enough. But if Jug does it, he can get that farm. And so that's another issue that most carries have at this level. They, especially players like Tinker or Prophet, they'll cast ultimates. Let's see if this fight goes well. They'll basically cast their spells, and they'll farm all the easy places on the map, and then the supports have nowhere to farm. So overall, it drastically lowers the amount of farm that you get in your game. Wow, that was a lot of damage. Great stun. Yeah, so basically the carries will, at this skill level, they'll take too much of the easy farm, which lowers your chances of your supports having items and farm, and also lowers your chances of getting hero kills, because their team is very unlikely to move into your jungle unless they're ganking you. And you're almost never going to find their supports unless you get a Shadow Blade or a Blink Dagger or you smoke into lanes, which a lot of carries, almost no carries at this level do. In fact, I'd almost guarantee that both teams haven't used a smoke yet. 3 seconds or 3 smokes and 3 smokes. Neither team has touched a smoke yet, and this is a fault of the supports. Mainly the supports should be moving around getting kills. Nyx Assassin could orchestrate this. I mean, he has been able to solo kill Troll Warlord, but the easier way to kill Troll Warlord, other than getting a level 5 Dagon, is to ask one of his teammates to come gank with him. And you can do this very easily. And again, the only person to move around is going to be Nyx Assassin. He's not going to be able to get this kill, even if he did land that stun. He's not playing this very well, but It's important as well that if you're ganking, you have to wait for them to stop moving. He's actually going to die here. That was a pretty big mistake. Kind of a weird skill build from Troll here. I'd like to see him get an MKB, I think. I think it's okay to get... no, he should probably go Daedalus this game. Although Jug will eventually make it, but he himself is getting MKB, so... Kind of weird builds, a lot of medium items from both teams, but... Anyways, so yeah, the carries, at least semi-carries, should generally play a bit more aggressive farm here and here. The supports can sometimes hide behind them, so even if somebody's farming dangerously, a support can sit behind them to see if you can set up a kill. Or supports will organize like, oh, Juggernaut, can you come gank with me? And then you do a 2-man smoke, go into the jungle, find one hero, kill him, and then escape again. Little things like that are really efficient, doesn't waste too much time. And players at this level are also really bad at that because the only thing they're used to... Wow, an Aghanims. Oh, he could have used that guy. That was a big mistake. Does this do again AoE and lower cooldown and increases cast range as well? It's a huge cast range. I guess it's not that big of a difference. It goes from 700 to 850. Pretty meager. I think this was buffed recently for regular range, so that's why it got buffed. But I think the eggs is pretty crap item on this hero. It's unless you do it with somehow like a Magnus Empower, it might be worth it because then you're doing like what's this? 160 magic damage plus 350 at level 16 is like 500. That's really terrible. Honestly, it's not good. I guess you can AoE bash, but If you and it's a what 1.6 second stun. It's basically like if you get an Aghanim Scepter and somebody RPs an opponent, it allows you to do a 1.6 second 500 magic AoE damage to you, which is good but not amazing. It's like why would I do that when I could buy? Maybe this hero needs a buff Dags. I'm not sure. He is still picked sometimes now because he's good against sniper and stuff. But so yeah, anyways, farm the enemy's jungle, stay off the map, and then when you get opportunities, you can kill carries and things like that. Weaver's actually quite farmed. I don't like the butterfly pickup. I think this is a mistake. I remember one game a long time ago, I was wrecking on Weaver, I think this is in Dota 1, and I was like, dude, I'm so farmed, I'm going to buy a butterfly. Because if I get a butterfly, they won't be able to hit me, and then they're not going to be able to do anything to me. But what happened was that I had all this money sunk into an item that pretty much is a mediocre damage item. It gives you good attack speed, it's 60 attack speed with all the agility, and it gives you 60 damage if you're an agility here, which is okay. But it's not a Monkey King bar, and it's not a Desolator, and it's definitely not a Radiance, and it's not a Crystallis. There are much better items that you can get for damage on Weaver than Butterfly. Butterfly is largely it's also a survivability item. Gives you like 5 armor or something like that and the 35% evasion. So Butterfly not a very good item on Weaver in my opinion. This guy's kind of lacking damage. He looks good now because he's got a DD, but once the DD runs out, he really doesn't have a whole lot of damage to account for. I really don't recommend the Butterfly build on Weaver, at least until like a 3rd item, if you do end up on something like that. The Deso item before the Geminate change was the better damage item. Now you could get away with Maelstrom or Desolator or Monkey King Bar or Crystallis as well. Like a Daedalus would be good, but you kind of need some HP to compensate first. It's hard to say. You could even do the weird slasher build, which is like Diffusal Blade. You get a Diffusal Blade on the hero and you can remove silences from yourselves. You will, every Gemini hit will proc the Diffusal Blade feedback, which lowers their HP and their mana. AK does damage and lowers their mana. That build's possible. I haven't tried it before, but it might be good. I like that he has a lot of stat points. I think this is okay, but I wish that he had more Gemini points at this point. It's very late in the game. Increasing his DPS would be good, even though it's very marginal. Only 3-second cooldown on Gemini, so with the last level. That's really not that high. I would, you know, the Storm scales a lot better than it used to as well at 1 skill point. It's got buffed. It used to only last for 8 seconds at level 1, now it lasts for 14, which is a huge percentage of the total duration. So I would argue that leaving this at 1 skill point is actually pretty darn value as well. I think it's safe to say that you can leave Storm at level 1 now, and then just go stats instead to compensate, which is a very small buff to the hero that he received, essentially. Should be a pretty easy kill. Good stun by Dwalin there. Dagon is now Dagon 4. Still not very evasive at ganking though, unfortunately, but he'll get there eventually, I'm sure. I don't know if he'll ever buy a blink, but he definitely should. Alright, other things to point out. How's Puck been doing? See, this is a good skill build. This is a really good item build. He's got a blink, a Dagon, a Yule's, a bottle. He didn't go Dagon 5, he just got 1 Dagon. In a lot of cases, this is the right way to go, because going from a Dagon 1 to a Dagon 5 is a difference of like 5,500 gold. That's so much gold. I believe that's correct. If we look at the cost of a Dagon, it's 2720, which is almost 3,000. And as soon as this goes away, this is a 7,720 item. So it's 5,000 gold basically, right? Because the first one is 27. So it costs 5,000 gold, which is the cost of 2 more Dagons. It's basically like you're tripling the price of a Dagon for twice the effectiveness, which is in some ways, a lot of ways not worth it. Because you could spend that 5,000 gold on a lot of other items. You could buy like, for example, if you buy a Dagon, you increase your magic damage by 400, right? Well, what if I spend 5,000 gold on a Shiva's Guard and increase my magic damage by 200? Does that make sense? You're getting half of the magic damage value, but you're also getting 30 int and 15 armor and a huge AoE slow. In some cases, maxing the Dagon is worth it. On heroes like Bounty Hunter, I think it's definitely worth it because the gold gain you get is so ridiculously high that it pays it off. Or another example is Nyx Assassin. In some cases, it's worth it to max out your Dagon. I think it is actually. After you have a Blink and maybe a Force, max your Dagon. I think that's fine. But at low levels like this, if you're only getting a Dagon 5, I think that's a mistake. I think you need a Blink at least on top of that before you can fairly justify maxing out the Dagon. It works great against Pugna, obviously, because the hero is pretty vulnerable. He has a big int gain, so your mana burn does a lot, but it's a little bit scary otherwise. So I'm not a huge fan of this. I kind of wish he had a Shiva. Obviously, Shiva isn't good, but you have to look at the value of the items. There's a lot of other good items that you can get when you're playing Dota. You got wrecked by Black King Barker. Should be a rupture. Doesn't even need it. Alright, well, he will. Actually, it's a good rupture now. Forgot about the other heroes. Alright, that's gonna be more dead heroes, I think. Well, he got his ulti up again. It's kind of cool. He needs the phase shift already. That came. Alright, he can kill the Jug, I think. Oh, wow, we didn't get him. A little bit too much lifesteal there from the Juggernaut on the creep. That's pretty crazy, actually. I felt like he could have gotten him. He did use both spells. He used everything. He just didn't get him. Whoa, is that a hero? That is. But he gets cleaned up, so. Lena still doesn't have her eggs either, so that's pretty big. Decent damage loss there. Okay. So I talked about Dagon upgrades. This Pugna build is pretty fine for support. I wish you would have a Ghost Scepter though, because Omni Slash, things like that are pretty difficult to deal with. Maybe even a Force Staff would be okay. That way if a Nyx initiates on, you can Force Staff yourself away. What he should be doing is if he gets stunned or initiated on by Nyx, he needs to use the Nyx right away and just run. That's the best thing that he can do, because Nyx won't be able to catch up to that if he doesn't have a Blink or if he doesn't have a Force and all that. He's missing a lot of items, basically, that'll be able to allow him to chase kills, ensure kills, all that good stuff. Now the Butterfly is pretty much paid off on the hero, on Weaver here. You know, if you do look at the skill build, it's actually pretty efficient if you think about what he's doing. Just a second, an extra point. You know, I guess, hypothetically, with every extra point, let's do some math really quick. I'm going to put this in directed mode while I do math, because I think this will be kind of fun to explore. If you think about how efficient his build is right now, I'm going to open Excel, I believe. AKA my stolen Excel, open off his couch. Well, it's not stolen, it's open source. God, this window's too big. Get smaller. It's like cutting the sound out for a second. Alright, so if we calculate the efficiency between each level. Wow, alright, this guy's actually just holding skill points. He's level 25 or 23. He should be putting skill points into his skills, like, you know, Geminate, the Swarm, etc. There's no point not to level it up if you have the points. Alright, so if we do 6, 5, 4, 3, and we calculate the efficiency per level, will equal this minus. It's basically going to be, we're calculating the percentage difference from the former level to the new level. This is hard to do on stream, I think, but I'm going to do it anyway. How much reduction in cooldown do we get, basically? So it should be like 6 minus 5 divided by 6, right? Equals 6 minus 5 divided by 6. And I got to put that in parentheses, otherwise the order of operations will be wrong. Oops. What I should do is use cells, that way I don't have to retype this a billion times. 5 divided by that. Enter. Okay, so as you get more and more points of Geminate, the way that works is your first skill point is a 16% increase in cooldown, and then you get a 20% increase and then you get a 25% increase. So as you put more and more skill points into Geminate, it increases more and more value, which is a bit uncommon for skills. It means that the skill actually gets better as you level it. So it's pretty worth leveling. Maybe not pretty worth leveling, but I think it's worth leveling here, especially in terms of its interaction with Sakuchi. Sakuchi is a 6-second cooldown ability. It lasts for 4 seconds. So the important part is getting the Geminate down to 4 seconds or lower, because when you're chasing people, let's assume you're invisible for 4 seconds. You attack somebody to proc the Geminate, and then as soon as you become visible again, you want another Geminate. That's the important interaction. If you're doing a lot of chasing, then I think getting a lot of levels of Geminate is really worth it here. If you're doing straight DPS, I think it's worth it as well. If you're just farming and you're trying to be annoying, as Weavers generally do in the mid or early game, then I think skipping some Geminate levels are maybe better, because then you have more HP. So if you're a more... I still feel like getting 4 levels is pretty good. I fully agree with leaving the Swarm at 1 and getting stat for a while, but I think there's a lot of things that could be said about leveling up Geminate in a lot of ways. I think it's completely safe to do it. Maybe not completely safe, but in some cases good to do it, at least by the mid game. I would probably have 4 Geminate, max Sakuchi, and 1 Swarm by 11, or you can delay Geminate and then finish it pre-16. Definitely finish it pre-16. I think it's worth it. Because at that point, around level 16, you're doing a lot of damage. So I think I would level this skill up if I was playing the Weaver. So Arcane Boots on Spearbreaker, absolutely not recommended. You should be having Treads here in all cases. Maybe there's some times where you're gonna want Tranquil Boots if you want some more armor or regen, but Treads is the way to go because you need the attack speed. And this is a team that's grouping to smoke, and that is the only JK. They do not have a smoke. Have there been any smoke purchases yet? 3 smokes and 3 smokes. So no smokes yet. Why smoke? We gotta split the damage here. Oh, that was a good ice path. But a good BKB. Troll's playing really well here. Actually. Man, he got wrecked by Omni Slash. He's got good BKB timings and stuff like that. I think the Troll's playing pretty well, to be honest. His farming may not be super efficient. I didn't really watch him much in the early game, so I might be wrong on that. But I think he's making good item decisions, and he's popping BKBs at appropriate times there. I'm a little surprised that fight didn't go better for them, to be honest. I guess we didn't get another ward down or something. Should always have another ward down, especially... Maybe the Dire Heroes are a bit tanky and can kind of just run at his opponents. I think looks like Nyx is going for an E-Blade next, which is the right choice. But he should still have a mobility at him. Either Force Circling is pretty required. So doesn't look good for the Radiant team. They should have technically glyphed before their tower died, but it's pretty irrelevant because it was only going to kill maybe 2 more creeps or something. So not a big deal. Jug's itemization is pretty good as well, but he should have had a Mask of Madness so that he could attack faster with Omni Slash, even though his Omni's been really good. It's been doing a lot of damage. Abyssal Blade's a great item on Juggernaut as well, because you can get some bashes in. Alright, is this game just over? They're going to lose right here. This is the Force Staff. Jakira's itemization has been great, with the exception of the overly early purchase of Magic Wand. Is this game out? Is this it? What is going on? Everybody's in the air. Oh, that was a great stun. Is that a buy? No buyback? Okay. Is that it? Alright, looks like the game's not over yet. Alright, good. Oh, that's right. I was like, he's gonna blink. That's right, he didn't buy one. He just needs a stun, and I think they can get a Weaver kill here. I like the Halberd on Bloodseeker. That's pretty good. I think the TP back was pretty smart here. Alright, can they stop the Bloodseeker? Is the next question. He actually does very little damage. Okay, they got Weaver. Sorry I'm like moving the camera so fast, guys. Alright, so it looks like they did actually defend. That was pretty close. I genuinely thought the game could end there. Maybe some criticisms, you could say Bloodseeker's build isn't very DPS, but I think in a lot of cases Bloodseeker should be playing a teamfight kind of build. Blade Mail is good. At some points you will need BKBs. I think Phase is the right boot choice. And maybe Treads now, because Treads interacts a bit better with the way Thirst works. Because this gives bonus damage, so getting attack speed to compensate for that would be good. But I think Halberd is pretty good against Troll. It's good against Spirit Breaker as well. It's pretty good against Lina as well. It's an okay Bloodseeker item. I just might be safer just to go Sanjin Yasha instead. That way you have the extra mobility in some cases. It's an easy kill on Troll. Does Troll need a solution? I feel like Troll... what's a solution to Omni Slash? You kind of sometimes need to get Ghost Scepter on a core. And this might be one of those games. If you're playing Troll versus like a Juggernaut. Because Omni Slash will wreck you, even if you BKB. If you do have a game where you have to get a BKB, and I think this was one of them, because there's a Nyx and a Bloodseeker and a Jakiro. Kind of need a BKB. I think maybe getting a Ghost Scepter. No, the answer is it's a Manta. The answer is a Manta. What he should have gone instead of a Sanjin Yasha is a Manta game. Okay, they have thrown away. Troll bot back here, but that was a little bit of a mistake, but maybe he didn't know their whole team wasn't here or something. I don't know. But a Manta was definitely the right solution here, rather than the Sanjin Yasha. It's a DPS item that gives you survivability against Omni Slash. If you get a Manta, then he Omni Slashes you, you just split, and then your illusions tank a lot of hits. And then after the Manta, you get a Scotty or a BKB, depending. It's basically the popular build in the pro scene right now. So Manta BKB would leave his damage a little bit lower, and his HP maybe not as high. And he wouldn't have the maim slow either, which is kind of a big loss. That's actually a pretty strong slow right now. It would be a bit of a loss there, but he would be able to survive Omni Slashes. So he'd probably have like 1 or 2 less deaths. At least. So you can also remove silences with it. So you could remove Bloodseeker Silence. You know, there's a couple other good applications. That's about it, I guess. Not a bunch of huge ones here. And now the Radiant team's going to go push up the mid lane. They do actually have sentries, which is good. This should cause Nyx some problems. If he does engage on this, he should just die. Maybe not, though, because we'll most likely see a spiked Carapace after the Euls. Here he's going to move in here. And here comes the Euls. Anyone watching? There's the Euls. And what's that? Without the Blink Dagger, Nyx dies. Thank you. They did it. And that's what happens. He spent all this money on these items, and if they put a frickin' sentry down and they have any kind of setup, you just die. You can't do anything, because then you're on top of your whole enemy team. So that's pretty big. That was a big source of burst damage from the Dire team. They can't really pick off the Lina easy anymore. They can't pick off the Puck easy. They can't pick off the Pugna easy. Those 3 heroes are the squishy ones. And they should be able to force high ground. They do still have to worry about Juggernaut, obviously. I don't like the Satanic purchase. I think Helm was fine. He just needed to get another DPS item, like a, I don't know, maybe a Butterfly would be good, or a Scotty even. Mix of all that good stuff. He's got an MKB already, so Butterfly maybe would have been the wrong item. Probably would have been the wrong item. Silence on Bloodseeker. Alright, I think Spirit Breaker's gonna die here. Maybe not. Except for that fire does a lot. Okay, good earn. Still does end up dying though. That was not the ulti you wanted as a Lina, that's for sure. Alright, Lina needed a TP, but she's gonna die now. 100%, unless she stuns the perfect hero and continues running. Wow, this Jug is just a really nice person. Lina is actually so fast, but now she's wasted her movement speed. Another good stun from Lina. Guess he's just gonna run all the way home. That's actually scared me. I didn't see the Nyx coming from that way, but he caught up to her. Weaver's actually really fast now with Boots of Travel. I think it's a bit early to buy them, but do you buy back or something? Oh jeez, this is like actually a really good game. AoE Bash does some work. Alright, Drug died though. That's a BKB on Pugna, wow. Drop your Nether Ward, damn it! Drop it! Drop the Nether Ward. Drop the Nether Ward. So if they're magic immune, by the way, and you're life draining somebody, it doesn't do any damage. The amount of HP gain is how much damage you do. So life draining somebody that's magic immune is a complete waste of your time. Especially if you have an Axe, because you can just cancel it and do something else. Will you catch him, Spirit Breaker? And wow, the guy without the Blink Dagger would have loved to have a Blink Dagger. I think he still would have died, obviously, if he does get charged, but... I mean, Nyx honestly had a really good mid and late game, and he probably feels like he made a huge impact, but Blink Dagger would have done so much. His deaths would have been significantly lower. He would have been able to snowball better. I mean, playing ganking heroes isn't just about getting kills. It's also about not dying after you get those kills. If you do that, your hero becomes ridiculous. If you also die when you get kills, you're going to contribute a lot, but it won't be as nearly as much as somebody at a higher MMR would. So if I was going to recommend anything to this Nyx Assassin, I would say make sure your early game is more efficient and that you buy a Blink Dagger after your Dagon or before, one or the other. If you get a Dagon first, whatever, go for it. But get a Blink Dagger immediately afterwards and then make your Dagon 5. I think that's a much safer build. And if he plays that correctly, then he should be able to get a lot of leverage out of it. Oops, I didn't mean to click that. So, Weaver has a buyback, a Lincoln Sphere Butterfly. His damage is good, but not amazing. I would like to see him get a Daedalus here. Or maybe even Scotty or something. Maybe Scotty's not the right item. Oh, he got blown up. They are just running away. That's a dead hero. You know, I'd kind of like to see Spirit Breaker grab maybe a Blade Mail or something. Would be kind of cool. He's got a lot of HP here that he's not leveraging. His DPS is terrible because he got a Arcane Boost. If he got a Treads, he can maybe right-click people more, but right now he's pretty limited in DPS output. Pugna grabs a Necro, which is a good item to grab. Necros are pretty much always useful. It does a lot of physical damage. Mana burns people. You can use a ranged nuke. The ranged creep, for example, does a 225 mana drain, which is a 225 nuke. So if you compare the costs, a Necro 3 costs 5,200. It's about twice as much as a Dagon, and it does half the damage with just the burn. Plus you can push with it, plus it detects invisible heroes. It's comparable in a lot of ways if you do have the micro to be able to use the mana drain. Pugna trying to do some tricky things here. And now they have to do... Wait, is this it? Is this it? Alright, they have Glyph. Troll's getting wrecked again by the Omni Slash, so that should be his death. Assume he can buy back. Oh, he's on cooldown for 40 seconds. Is that it? Game end? Alright, surely the game's over. Alright, and that is the game. Okay. Wow, really close game. I didn't quite think the Dire team was going to pull that off. I assumed the Radiant team, but that was a really good game. Back and forth. I guess the major issues were inefficient pushing by the Radiant team. They didn't go high ground very well. They kept dying as they did attempt their pushes. I think they did get a mid-rax, didn't they? So the Dire team is pretty good at running at them, and it looks like they maybe farmed a lot more. 600, 400, 393, 541. If we look at the gold graph, yeah, they do have a pretty significant gold advantage at this point. That's mostly just because their heroes are better at farming. They basically have a 3-core lineup plus a ganking hero. So it's more like they kind of just have one support, at least at these levels of pubs. Oh man, I wanted to keep looking at that. I know, I still have it in the... So, at these lower levels where people aren't as good at setting up and making use of their heroes, like for example, if you're playing a Jakiro, what did this guy do? He didn't farm at all. He only got 48 last hits. All he did was kind of waited around for fights to happen, and then he tried to help in fights. What he could have been doing was trying to help set up kills with Nyx Assassin. Obviously, they won, so this is maybe slightly irrelevant, but he's the most support hero in the game. Most of the other heroes weren't really played like supports, including like Lina and Spirit Breaker. So if you are playing a hard support, if you can go around the map, set up kills, or push towers, or split push, or set up ganks, or sit behind your cores that you expect to get ganked, then you can contribute a lot more. But it's either that or farming. You need to do one or the other. Don't just stand around and wait for team fights. You can do that by either farming, assuming you have enough mana regen to fulfill you, or you'll be fighting. So either farming and fighting, or ganking and fighting. Those are your two options as a support. Don't just stand around and do nothing and then fight. If you do that, your hero's accomplishing very, very little. So that's the important thing. And like I said, it's also very important how much mana you have. If you're playing a core, or if you're playing a support and you don't have the mana or the regen to be able to jungle indefinitely, then you're either not going to get farm, or you're just going to stand around. So if you don't have the mana, I would recommend ganking. But there's things you can do to fix that. Like Jakiro gets a Euls, and once he has the Euls, he can pretty much jungle whenever he wants to. If you're playing Crystal Maiden, you have mana regen. If you're playing Avenge, you might need like Tranquil Boots, for example. When I play Tranquil Boots heroes on supports, I actually jungle a lot more, because I know that if I lose a third of my HP and a fight starts, it'll be pretty much full by the time I get there, because my Tranquils will be healing me. If you're playing Shadow Demon, this is something Shadow Demon started doing, I think at DAC a little bit. They started buying Soul Rings, because with the Soul Ring, you can get 3 Shadow Poisons out of it. So with 5 Shadow Poisons, you can kill any amount of stacks. So you stack your camp twice, you use Soul Ring, you kill the camp, and you've gotten like 400 gold out of it, and your mana is still pretty full because you only lost 100 because the soaring covered 150, and you're still regenerating mana based on soaring. So it's like you invest 800 in an item that allows you to jungle as a support. That way when the fight starts, your HP is still full. Because that's the important part. If your HP is low and your mana is low by farming, then you're also not ready to fight. That's a really important support thing that most people don't think. Get the regen items, be able to jungle while still being ready to fight. And doing a mix of farming, ganking, and pulling and all that good stuff and warding is really what you need to do to balance the support. So I think I covered like tons of topics. I hope you guys learned a lot from this video. I feel like I covered a lot of good things that I haven't talked about before. And I'll bring you guys back tomorrow with the video. I think tomorrow I'm going to do something slightly more forward thinking, or more like long overdue. I made these videos when I was in California called, at least before Korea, and it was called Let's Analyze Losses. And what I would do is I'd look at some games that I played, and I would talk about why we lost the game and what kind of things could have been changed to fixing. So I'll point out my errors, I'll point out my teammates' errors, things like that. And then hopefully that'll give you guys a better understanding of being able to analyze your replays and get better, or maybe even understanding why you're not as good of a player as you want to be, stuff like that. So I'm going to do one of those tomorrow. I had 2 heroes written down from like games from like a month ago, but I downloaded the replays already, so I should be able to find it. And I'll just pick some other game that I lost recently, and I'll just analyze the games. It'll be like 3 games within like a 45-minute segment with a little bit of research, and I'll be making that tomorrow. So I'll see you guys tomorrow with that video. Thanks for watching today, and if you guys haven't yet, check out my new website. purgegamers.com should redirect to the real URL, which is like purgegamers.true.io. There's a lot of cool features that you guys can use. Register for an account. You can comment on the video postings there. There's a nice forums that's going to be heavily moderated and regulated so that it's not going to turn trashy like the last one did. And pretty soon here I'm going to be looking for revamping my stream a little bit in terms of mods and stuff. So we'll have a mod application process on there soon. I'll probably hopefully get working on that in the next 2 weeks or so. So feel free to check out the website. Go to dotabuff.com if you guys want to support them. Go check out your stats. Make sure you turn on your stat chain if you want to access that. And of course, now tonight I'm going to work on another article for thesco.re esports, and you can read my article if you click down below. I wrote it about a week ago now. It's about the comeback mechanics. I analyzed the numbers and stuff with spreadsheets. So thanks everybody for watching today. Go check out the other stuff that I talked about, and I'll see you tomorrow.